Hey guys, welcome back to the All Sports Pass. My name's Eli, I'm your host, and welcome back to another video. We got a bunch to talk about, and what better way to talk about it than with a fellow Vol fan, Jason Williams from Space Vols. Of course, thank you for coming in tonight.
Eli, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
No problem, man. And if y'all are wondering, this was originally going to be with me and Max, but unfortunately, Max couldn't be here tonight, so I'm sorry about that. But hey, trust me, we got some good stories to tell, and we got a whole bunch to talk about. So let's get into it. But before we get into it, you already know we got to start with the verse of the day. Today's verse comes from Psalm 34:14. It says, "Turn from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it." And also, just one more thing before we get in, leave a like, subscribe for more college football content. Without further ado, let's begin. So, Jason, I just wa- first thing I want to say is this because like it's kind of a pretty funny story, like what you told me about how you became a Vols fan. How about we start that out with we start this out with you telling the story on how you became a Vols fan.
So we moved to the South about a little over 6 years ago. My wife, my wife's sister married my brother-in-law, who's a Tennessee fan. He's a season ticket holder from before Josh Heupel got there. He was able to get the tickets. He was able to keep the tickets. The first couple of years he went, him and his wife, my wife's sister, my sister-in-law went, and he asked me if I wanted to go um, to a Tennessee game. I had never been in Neyland Stadium. I had never been to a football game other than, I grew up in Las Vegas, so I was always a big UNLV fan. That was my thing. And I had never been in a place where there was more than 30 or 40,000 people, if that. I mean, that was just, I mean, just very briefly too. When UNLV had a good year or two, they would get 30,000, and it was a big deal. My brother-in-law asked me to go, and his name is Joey. He asked me to go to a Tennessee game. He told me this was in 2021. He told me that I could pick two games, and I looked at the schedule, and I'm not a fool when it comes to history. I was aware that Lane Kiffin was the head coach at Tennessee. I knew that there was a lot of uh, ill feelings in a lot of the fan base, and Ole Miss was the game I picked. The other game was Georgia because, well, let's face it, I wanted to see the national champions, and I did. I was hoping Tennessee would win. They stuck with them, but not for long. But the first game was Ole Miss, and I have chills and hair that stands on my body when I talk about it. Just talking about it makes me feel that way. And I'll never forget it. There's an energy not only in Neyland Stadium. I'll get to Neyland Stadium, but there's an energy in in the town, in the city, or in the fan base, and it's you can't help but feel it. And then you get in the building. I still feel it every time I go. I mean, this is the fifth year in now, and I still feel it. I don't think it'll ever change, but it's incredible. It's like it's a force of 100,000 people over just going through your body, and it's indescribable to this day to a point, but there's nothing like it. And so we've gone to two games at least ever since. And I'm I'm one of the luckiest people on earth to have the family that I have and to be able to go and do these things. And it's something that I cherish always.
Yeah, that's a really great story. But I think the funniest part was that the first game you attended ended up being the game where Lane Kiffin got hit in the head with a bottle of mustard.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm just gonna be honest. Like, I'm just gonna say this because I know how a lot of people feel about Tennessee fans. I do not endorse that whatsoever. So, and I haven't been to a Tennessee game in a while. I think the last one was actually 2017 against Indiana State, where that was probably I think our best game that season. Because we ended up going 4-8 that season. And yeah, but however, like now, like moving on now, we start to see the resurrection of Tennessee, basically, of the program, and of course what Heupel's been able to do. And all I have to say is this: when I heard Heupel got hired, at first I was like, "Who?"
Yeah,
Because UCF, in my opinion, just wasn't really all that known back then, and then they end up, of course, they get him from there, and I'm like, when he's coming to Tennessee, please don't have the same hype as Jeremy Pruitt and then end up just being a huge disappointment. He has not.
yeah.
Now, 7-6 that first season when, of course, I'm still going to talk about this. The bowl game in 2021,
Mhm.
Tennessee,
Yeah, against Purdue. Yeah,
yeah, against those refs were awful.
yeah, yeah. They couldn't have been any worse than they were the other night. But that should,
Yeah,
that's a whole different show. That's like that's hours of show because they're really bad. But to your
yeah,
point, yes, absolutely.
yeah. And then, of course, you get to 2022, everyone remembers that season. Like,
Yeah.
the Vols, some ignites in them. They end up winning against Alabama for the first time since 2006. And a little fun fact, I was only like 3 months old when the last time they beat them. Sorry to make you feel old there.
No, man, it's been a while. It's been a
Yeah,
while. Way before
yeah.
I was thought of as a fan either.
Yeah, so and I will say this though that when we beat Bama in 22, I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening." And then we end up going to Georgia. They keep it close there. It was a loss, and then of course everybody remembers the South Carolina game, and of course you've been petitioning for the team to bring the orange helmets back.
I
I'm just gonna
have.
say this, like I think they can actually bring them back because basically Connor Stalions basically confirmed himself that he gave South Carolina our plays, like
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. I mean, a lot of people in Columbia won't agree with these things because they want to go with that they beat Tennessee fair and square, and that game it still hurts.
Mhm.
There's a lot of hurt in it. We haven't seen the helmet since. I think the worst thing, the worst part about that game was that Hendon Hooker got hurt.
Yeah,
They lost the game, but the game wasn't really close. I mean, not in the second half, at least, or maybe longer. It was Hendon getting hurt. Um, that really was the worst part of that. I'd love to see the helmet come back. It has nothing to do with the win or the loss. There's a lot of folks in Vol Nation who don't particularly care for it, and I understand that too. But it's a sharp helmet. It's a great look. It would go great with the orange uniforms. You can mix it up and even use it with the black or the white. It goes with anything. And it's sad that we haven't seen it. I'd love to see it again. It's a good look.
yeah. If I'm being honest though, like I also don't know if it would look as good with the orange, like the all orange, because
Mm,
like when I played in like the college football, I think it was 25 because I haven't played 26 too much. I literally did it. The only thing they looked like was traffic cones.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. That's true.
I was like, yeah, probably not a good idea because if the O line lets the defensive guys get through, it's just gonna look like they knocking down traffic cones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fair, and that's fair too.
mhm, yeah. Um, but however, now let's talk a little bit about last week's game. Of course, we
Hmm.
played Arkansas, and don't let the score fool you on this one. It was only a 34-31 win, but if you look at the history of the Arkansas game, it's basically either a really close win or a really close loss.
Right.
And I'm just glad to be on the winning side of it, but um and I don't have the clip on me like on the computer, but I would have shown you like from what my buddy took in the stands as one of these examples here. But really, who were we really playing that game? Arkansas or were we playing the refs?
It's very rare for myself, for anyone who knows me or kind of follows me on social media. I don't like to blame the referees.
Hmm.
If you think about it, how many plays do you get in a game offensively? Anywhere from 45 to 65, roughly, give or take. Could be a little bit more, could be a little bit less.
Mhm.
How many plays, how many penalties do you think should have been called? I mean, if the answer is 3 to 5, well, then you have all those other plays to win the ball game. I'm going to take this from a coaching, from a player standpoint, because I've always looked at things that way.
Mhm.
I really do not want to blame the officials. I was in attendance last weekend, um, and there were some really bad calls that were missed. Even myself, somebody who doesn't like to talk about officiating, will tell you that there were. It was 10 to 1 in disparity of penalties that were not called, or that were called in Arkansas's favor, and not many in Tennessee's. Um, I think Tennessee battled themselves majority of the evening. You could throw in that they battled the referees at a point in the game. But the problem with Tennessee was they caused 3 fumbles, 4 turnovers,
Mhm.
and they didn't cash in on all of them. They cashed in on one, and that is the ball game there. That's why it was so close. There's multiple concerns. The defense was giving up a lot of yardage. And now, do not get me wrong, you have to know your opponent. And Arkansas is one of the better offensive teams, not only in the SEC, but in the country in a lot of metrics. Mike Washington, their running back, talked about Tennessee's defense having a lot of holes. And instead of Tennessee's defense standing up for themselves, they proved Mike Washington right. And he is right.
Mhm.
Um, the Alabama team that Tennessee will see in Tuscaloosa is not this Arkansas team either in a lot of ways. Now, they are better record wise, but they're not better in a lot of metrics offensively than Arkansas is. Arkansas is, I cannot state this enough, they are one of the better teams, and that includes Alabama in the conference in offensive efficiency in many of those areas. Um, Tennessee battled. So to answer your question, Tennessee battled themselves, and they did battle the officials. If nothing changes, then nothing changes. That's the bottom line when it comes to officiating. If everybody doesn't get together, because I'm sure you saw it, like many others, in the Auburn Georgia game,
Mhm.
multiple discrepancies of just what are we watching. I'm watching from the hotel room after we got back from Knoxville. We stayed about 40 minutes out, in Morristown, and turn on the ball game, and Sean McDonough is on the call, and he's really confused in his verbiage about what's going on in this ball game. As an announcer with experience in multiple sports over 30 plus years, he's confused, and we all were. We had our we like me and my brother sitting in there in the hotel room, just with our mouths open, just very concerned. So in terms of officiating, nothing changes until it does, and everybody's got together and go to the office in Birmingham and fix it, or demand that it gets fixed. But Tennessee escaped, and you win by one. It's a win, and that's all you can take out of it at the end of the day.
Yeah, and like what I want to mention is, like I mentioned, I don't have the clip for this, but there was a pass interference that was clearly not called. It was clearly pass interference because, like, and of course, with this being a couple days ago, I don't remember who the receiver who it was, but
I believe it was Bray Staley.
yeah, yeah, it was Staley, yeah, yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
um, yeah, and there was also another one too. Like for example, like, now, I will say this, they did get this one call right, and, of course, like, I'm not one to trash on, like, anybody, but whoever that player that got ejected for targeting for us is, like, what was he thinking? I mean, like, because Green was already down, and he ends up just going
Right.
in, targeting, and I'm like, "Dude, really?" Yeah,
Um, the player was Nate Spillman, I believe,
yeah,
or Edwin Spillman. Sorry, I
yeah,
think I got my Spillmans mixed up. There was a
yeah,
Spillman who is now gone. I believe it's Edwin, but luckily we got a lot of linebackers.
Mhm,
So that's the good part. I don't know what he's thinking, except if I'm a guy that doesn't play very much and I want to hit somebody, and
mhm,
he got his money's worth. I mean, he'll be suspended for the first half in Tuscaloosa. Um, but Tennessee is deep there. They're deep in the place where that first half ejection uh, hits them. So they're good there. I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, you know, there's debate if it really was targeting or not. It didn't look very good when it comes to arguing if it was or wasn't. It was he like I said, he got his money's worth, and he's going to have to sit for the first half of the Alabama game. But
mm.
I think Tennessee will be all right there.
Yeah, and of course, another thing that I want to say here, but before we like get on to a little bit more on the Arkansas game, before we move on to the Alabama game, Tennessee had 10 penalties for 78 yards. I'm sorry, Arkansas only had one penalty that entire game,
Yeah.
and that's just, I think, of course, that's just the example of the officiating there. Like that's not, there's not much I need to say about that. Like,
No, there was some missed calls,
mhm,
a lot of them. Uh,
yeah,
they missed a lot. There was a lot going on. There's only been a couple of games that I've been to that have been like this, but
mhm.
it seemed like every other play, the head official was asking for the clock operator to reset the game clock to a certain time. So I don't know how clock operators work. I don't know if they work for the conference, for the officials. I don't know if they travel together. I don't know. I haven't seen that every game, but there was a problem with the clock. One of the officials was injured early in the game. I do not know who that was. I believe he came back, but they had to have an alternate come in. Um, there was issues with their sound. There was issues with their flags. Look, there for the folks who were there. I try not to think that I'm losing my mind, but whenever there was a penalty called for like the first half, I didn't actually see a flag on the field. It's like they weren't throwing them, but they were making a call, and then all of a sudden I saw them. Now I really hope I'm not nuts, but usually they're very very easy to see. They're yellow. They're glaring at you. But I wasn't seeing flags, but I was hearing calls. And then you get to the calls that weren't called. Uh, obvious couple pass interference calls. The one that irritated probably the building and myself the most was the false start penalty.
Yeah,
That
that's
was
what I
a
was about to bring up.
clear offside on Arkansas. And I'll let you talk about that a little bit before I get into it more. But that's the one that irritated most.
Yeah, like, what I wanted to bring up was, like, I saw that and I was like, "Yeah, that's on Arkansas," because
It's
literally
terrible.
they're in the neutral zone,
Hmm.
and basically they cause the, offensive lineman to react,
That's right.
and instead they turn around on Tennessee. I'm like, "What? That makes
There
no sense."
wasn't
Like,
many words. There wasn't many words, and well, there was a lot of words. There was a lot of not nice words that was going on in the stadium, but it was really it was rough. It was rough. I really hate to hammer on the officials. I really do because their jobs aren't easy, but they make it hard on themselves a lot of times.
exactly, that's how I feel. And,
Yeah,
alright, so I just noticed that we're nearly 20 minutes in, so we probably better get going on the 3rd Saturday in October here,
absolutely.
yeah. Of course, 108th meeting all time, Alabama leads the series, Tennessee has not won in Tuscaloosa in a long time. Last time they won in Tuscaloosa, it went to, like, 5 overtimes.
Mhm.
So, but I do think this is gonna be one interesting game, to say the least. Both teams coming off 3-point victories. Alabama, of course, playing Missouri, and then of course you also got Tennessee, like we just mentioned, coming off against Arkansas. Um, thing about Alabama though is that I've heard this could be a trap game, and I just think that I'm kind of in agreement and disagreement at the same time. it's the agreement, of course, like everyone remembers the Alabama loss to Florida State, which ended up now looking like a bad loss. Um, and you end up also seeing the results. Alabama just has not been able to really. Now, of course, they're historically, though, I'm sorry, on the record still show that that's a blowout, but the scores just don't look like a blowout. That just, to me, it just looks like it looks kind of like Butch Jones era Tennessee scores, and that's how you know this Alabama team just isn't really like hasn't been the same ever since Saban retired, and
Right.
that's the thing about that. But I will say this though, that Tennessee has seemed to figure out this Alabama team. Matter of fact, they even won without a quarterback. And speaking of little interruption here, Max was actually supposed to wear the Nico Iamaleava jersey tonight because he said on the video, whenever Nico wins his first game as a Bruin, he's gonna wear that jersey. But fortunately, we can't
Right.
get it tonight. um, but if we can win without a quarterback, and I've said this multiple times, if we can win without a quarterback, I feel good about having a chance on the road. And
Yeah.
but there's some things that got to be changed. That has to be changed for Tennessee.
Yeah.
Like, of course, their secondary. Of course, you don't have Gibson, you don't have McCoy, and but still, what I saw these last few weeks, that is not an excuse for the secondary. I just think that of course, you have players like you have a whole bunch of players on the team for a reason,
Right.
and these guys just haven't been able to, step up when it's needed most, and they end up causing, potential game-losing plays, and that's just the thing they're gonna have to change before they travel into Tuscaloosa.
Yeah. It starts on defense for
Mhm,
Tennessee. Um, Ty Simpson is very good. He's a very
mhm,
good quarterback. He's a pocket quarterback. He's not afraid to stand in there and throw the ball. He's going to be a much dire threat throwing the ball than even Taylon Green was for Arkansas. And Taylon Green had some really good throws for the
mhm,
Razorbacks, but I don't think Ty Simpson is going to move as much as Taylon Green did. Tennessee has an opportunity to, really, tighten up there. It's going to be about the pass defense, the pass rush. You got to get, your line, your defensive line. You got to get those guys after everybody. I don't think Alabama is much of a threat to run the football either with their running backs. Not only Ty Simpson, but the guys in the backfield. You look at what they've had. You look at what Alabama has done. They bring in a 300 plus pound Proctor, you know, to run the football in certain situations, which is a challenge in itself. Don't get me wrong. Um, but I don't think Alabama's a threat to as much to run. You're going to have to cut them down in the air. And my concern with that for Tennessee is exactly what you mentioned. Um, Ricky Gibson done for the year. I don't know if that's come out yet, but I already know that he is. I'm sure many other people figure that they have, figure that he is, but that is what it is. Jermon McCoy, people are holding out hope that he's going to play this week. I would say, you know, don't hold your breath. Maybe look at the injury report on Wednesday and Thursday and see where they're at. Um, do you really want his first game to be Alabama after not, being, in competition for 9 plus months? I don't think so. Ty Redmond has been good. Colton Colton Hood has been really good, but Alabama's going to pick on the freshman. They are. Colton Hood has one of the best, you know, numbers defensively, PFF wise in the country at his position. So I don't think Alabama's going to test him. They're going to test the other side. My issue defensively for Tennessee is they gave and this is even before you get to the secondary. They're giving up a lot of yardage defensive line wise, that first and second level of players on defense, whether it's passes or runs. Tennessee's given up too much. This is not your 2023 and 2024 defense. Um, But with that said, Tennessee can mask a lot of what is wrong, kind of how they did in 2022 with the offense. And I think that's what's going to happen. You could be looking at a shootout here because Alabama's defense is better than Tennessee's. But in a lot of areas, Tennessee has opportunity to
Hmm.
be able to throw over that defense. Joey Aguilar is not afraid to sling it. Josh Heupel's not afraid to let him sling it. They got good running backs. They got good receivers. I think Tennessee can keep up with this team. Where the game is won and lost is defensively for both teams.
Hmm. And also, I will say this though, I don't think the Bama offensive line has been really as strong, really either. As I just think that they tend to collapse a little bit more, like more quickly than they have in years past. And for Tennessee, of course, like the defensive line, like they're impressive. That's all I'm going to leave at that. Of course,
Yeah,
Arion Carter even having 17 tackles against Mississippi State, and so of course Alabama's going to know to watch for him. And all I have to say is Tennessee, if they can get to Ty Simpson, then they got a shot. But they also got to try to find the holes in the Alabama defense. Like, of course, we mentioned with Mike Washington saying that about Tennessee's defense. They got to find that in Alabama's defense, and that's just what I think is going to be more important.
that's right. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's where the game. That's where the game is going to be won and lost. I mean, it's going to be a fantastic football game, no doubt. I
Mhm.
mean, this is Tennessee's probably best chance to win. I mean, in 2023, they were up 20-7 at halftime. Should have won that game in a lot of people's opinions, but I mean, because of the series history, you'll get a lot of backlash saying that, well, Tennessee was never going to win that game because of the series history. But look at the game just alone, 20-7 at halftime. No reason why you should have lost that game. Tennessee's going to have opportunities to win in Tuscaloosa for the first time in 22 years, and I hope they take it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking. And before we move on to the rankings here, Alabama has a 72.4% chance to win this game. But you also take a look like every year, they're always favored. And
Sure.
they usually always get silenced at the end of the game whenever Tennessee can win it. But all I will say is this that, in my opinion, this Alabama defense kind of looks like the same defense they've had like last year. But that's just my opinion. And of course, they've allowed way more points than they have like in the last few years, like already this season. And like everybody's keeping the game close, and that's just all I think. And so, like you mentioned, I think it's gonna be a very interesting game. But taking a look though, Tennessee's got a whole bunch of has on their season leaders. They basically dominate Alabama's season leaders, and I think these guys are gonna have to step up um, when Saturday is here. Because hey, if you want to smoke those cigars, you gotta do everything you can to win this game, and you got to step up whenever you can. So that's just
Yeah,
all I'm gonna
I mean,
say.
I bought mine.
Mhm,
I bought cigars. I'm ready.
mhm,
I don't know what the percentage chance is that they smoke them.
mhm,
But I'm hoping that we do. I'm
mhm.
prepared.
Yeah.
Never come unprepared.
Mhm,
That's the worst. We went to the game in 22 and we didn't have cigars, and I mean, look, they hadn't won in 15 tries. All right,
mhm,
so 24 we had cigars. We were ready.
mhm,
So I had cigars in 23. I didn't get to smoke them. I actually gave those away in 24 and bought better ones to it. I gave them away to a family who was looking for them just in case we won and they got to smoke them. And I'm super happy that I was able to do that. But I'm ready. I'm ready. I don't. I'm not telling you I have the most confidence because in my predictions before the year, I said 9-3, and your traditional losses were in there.
mhm.
Your Georgia, Bama, Florida. I feel a little bit better about the Bama and Florida games, but that was just kind of where I was sitting. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me either way. I want Tennessee to win. I want Tennessee to win so badly. I want them to do it for the fans, for themselves, for the program, for everybody, because it's been way too long. You should never go this long without winning on the road. Same goes for Gainesville or anywhere else. So I'm ready. It's gonna be a fantastic environment and a night game in Bryant Denny.
Mhm.
It's interesting because where college game day is going
Mhm.
to Athens for Ole Miss and Georgia.
Mhm.
Um, could have easily, though, the Tennessee game and the Georgia game could have been swapped,
Mhm.
because you figure that's probably the best game since game day is going there in their minds. It could have been, a 3:30 game, but for you, I'm glad, that you're going to be able to catch it because it's definitely going to be
One heck of a
edge of your
game.
seat, a good game, an edge of your seat game for Tennessee fans for sure.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. So now we got some time for the rankings here. Of course, there's been a whole bunch, so many teams dropped in the rankings: Michigan, Illinois, Arizona State, Iowa State, and Florida State, and some new guys coming in. Like you got USC, Texas, Utah, Cincinnati, and Nebraska. And all I have to say is this: is that I really think that some of these rankings are a bit surprising to me. Like top
Yeah,
3 has a change. I have Ohio State ranked 1, Miami ranked 2, Indiana ranked 3, then go to Texas A&M ranked 4. Texas A&M, they've been on a roll recently, is what I'm gonna say there. And Ole Miss, I'm also shocked they didn't drop farther than they did, as they had a close win over Washington State
right.
at home. You have Alabama 6 after that 27-24 win over Missouri.
Hmm.
You have Texas Tech 7, and I'm gonna be honest, I even forgot Texas Tech was even ranked in the first place.
They've had a quiet march
Yeah,
to that spot.
yeah. And then Oregon, of course, drops to number 8 following that loss to Indiana. And then you have Georgia 9, LSU 10, and I'm just gonna be honest here, I'm gonna be frank here. I don't think LSU is gonna stay in playoff eligibility. I just don't see it happening
Yeah,
because
I'm
it
with you.
yeah, it happens, like, every year, like, they get good first half of the season, second half of the season, they fall apart. That's just all
Yeah,
I'm gonna say.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and, of course, you have Tennessee 11, Georgia Tech 12, and
Mhm.
then Notre Dame 13. And on another video that I did, I'm gonna be honest, I said, "How was Notre Dame even ranked in the first place?" Because
Yeah.
literally, they were 0-2 at one point and somehow were still ranked.
Well, their two losses are to top 15 to two top 15 teams, and we know what the playoff committee is doing.
Mhm,
Notre Dame gets a certain path because they don't have a conference, and I
mhm,
think the committee wants to keep them in contention and wants them to play themselves out with a bad loss because their schedule is not hard. They play an ACC slash whoever they want to traditional type schedule.
mhm,
So you play, they play Stanford, USC, some of the military academies, and then an ACC schedule hybrid. So,
mhm,
and who they play, I think their toughest opponent is USC left. That's their toughest opponent. So
mhm.
I think what the committee was doing was keeping them in contention so they can go 10-2 and get back to the playoff.
Yeah,
That's what I
and,
think.
yeah, and I also just took a look, and I actually remember now that they kept it close with Miami, so I think that's probably the reason why they were still ranked.
Yeah, they lost two games by 4 points and to top
Yeah,
15 teams. I understand that, but there's it's you can see what the committee is, what the AP is doing, setting
yeah,
up the committee for that type of
yeah, I saw
success.
yeah, I saw confused another team there.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, anyway, of course, you have Oklahoma 14 following that shocking loss to Texas, and all I'm just gonna say is this: it seems like Arch Manning finally, got in the rhythm during the Red River rivalry, and
yeah.
yeah, but you also gotta realize this, that Texas has always had Oklahoma's number, so, yeah.
Well, I'm suspicious because John Mateer was 17 days post surgery from
Mhm,
getting a bolt or a screw in his hand, in his thumb. Okay, if Mateer doesn't, ifs, look, there's a lot of ifs. Okay, I
mhm,
understand. If John Mateer does not break his hand, I think they beat Texas.
mhm,
What had Texas done prior? They hadn't done anything. I think Mateer probably shouldn't have played, but he was always going to go if he was able. And he threw a couple of picks. had some turnovers, and they just never look right, and the defense failed them, which has nothing to do with Mateer. The defense had nothing to do with him. I understand that, but I think that sometimes there's a kind of an atmosphere around a team where there's deflation and inflation based off of what's going on, and I think Mateer has been their leader. He's been so good. I mean, I think that it's a different game if he plays, and I think some people are going to give me backlash about that because of the disparity in points. How many, they lost by 17, but I think it's a different ball game with a healthy John Mateer.
Mhm. Yeah, and so I also think this though that, like you mentioned, I don't think he should have played. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But I also do kind of find odd that Arch Manning ends up starting to play good during the Red River rivalry.
yeah. It could be a turning point for him.
Hmm. Yeah, and all right, then we have BYU 15, and BYU's also they've honestly been impressive these last few years. So I'll give them a pass on that because they're 6-0 and they've been, of course, in playoff contention a few times. So yeah. Um, yeah, Missouri at 16, Vanderbilt at 17, which I'm going to say this. Even though Tennessee hates Vanderbilt with a passion, I'm impressed by them. And I
Yeah,
really think that when they come around, then I still got to check. I don't think I'll be covering that game because we switch it with between the two channels.
right.
Um, but I think that's going to be one good game right there.
It is. It is. Vanderbilt's impressive. It is going
Yeah.
to be a good game. November 29th in Neyland Stadium. It's going to be a good one.
Mhm. No, yeah, Virginia, and of course, I'm just gonna say this, but on the last video we did about Tennessee, it was when Virginia upset Florida State, and former Vol Squirrel White was in the end zone when they stormed the
Yeah,
field,
yeah,
and and I was like, and I was just saying they need to have some more measures on that. Like, don't get me wrong, I like field storming, I do, but you don't just do that as soon as the game ends. That's
yeah, yeah. You got to get the players off the field.
yeah.
Let,
Um,
let them rush the field, but let the players get off the field first.
Yeah, that's what I think needs
Agree.
to happen.
Yeah,
And then, of
fully.
course, Max actually on the video said, "Rest in peace, Squirrel White," and I was like, "Buddy, he ain't dead, man."
But the video though,
Yeah, I
he's
know.
not a big he's not a big guy. Okay, he's a little fella. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, 5'9" or 5'10". I mean, he got trampled. I'm glad that he was okay
Yeah,
because
exactly,
he got
is that
trampled pretty good.
yeah, exactly, but what I'm saying is this, is like, is that, like, I just think that's kind of a bit premature, like, because and of course, we've been seeing it so much these past, like, few years, of course, like, making fun of people, like, basically, like and I'm not getting into to an example here, because like, don't wanna risk it because it gotta keep YouTube happy, um,
Of course,
but,
absolutely.
yeah, but of course, I feel like, of course, saying that somebody, like, basically doing that also kind of exposes, like, the unsportsmanship of, like, the people on the accounts as well. Because instead of saying, "Oh, he, passed away," things like that, that's just being
Yeah,
unsportsmanlike, really,
it
and
it is.
yeah, and that's just, what I really think, like as college football fans, we need to realize it's just a game and that we need to, of course, make sure that everyone's okay, basically, like, that's just all I'm saying, just a little disclaimer in case, there we happen to have some viewers who end up storming the field in the future, so, yeah,
Well said.
yeah. And then, of course, you have USF 19, and they were previously ranked after their upset against Florida, and then they were unranked, and then they rejoined the rankings. So yeah, but I don't know if USF can really get themselves in playoff contention though. I just don't see it happening. Like unless they can put up like big numbers as well. Like their remaining schedule is FAU. Of course, that's more than likely going to be a win. They travel to Memphis, and I'm gonna be honest, that's gonna be a good game.
That's the game that probably wins or loses the American for somebody.
Hmm.
You
And then
have
of
North
course,
Texas there, but they just took a loss, so it's probably that game. That's the game.
hmm and then they play UTSA, Texas, University of Texas, San Antonio. I had to say that because hey, Tennessee's the real UT, so I cannot believe I said that.
That's
um,
right.
and then they play Navy, play UAB, and they end their season against Rice. So yeah, it seems like a little easier schedule, but they got a few teams they got to get by. So that's just all I'm going to say there. Yeah.
That's right.
Then we have USC 20, Texas 21, Memphis 22, Utah 23, Cincinnati 24. And Cincinnati, this is the first time in a long time that they've been ranked. Like, all I'm going to say
Yeah,
is that, like, and of course, I think it was 2021 or 2020 that they ended up being the fourth ranked team in the college football playoffs.
yeah. I think it was 21, I believe. They went to the playoff. Yeah. That's the
Yeah.
last time that they were good
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
that.
Hey, these guys have actually like there have been so many shocking like teams that have really shocked me in here, and
Yeah.
of course, and we talked about of course that one upset against Iowa State and things like that. But I also do think this that there's also Nebraska here too. Nebraska's not been ranked in like what, a decade? So
Yeah, or more. Yeah.
yeah. And all I say is this is like, of course, sorry guys, so it sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about. Here's the thing. Um, the last time, like, of course, some of these teams have been ranked, I was a little kid. So
It's been a while. It's
yeah,
been a while,
so
especially for
yeah.
Nebraska.
Yeah, so I didn't even know what the polls were back then. So yeah,
Yeah.
but Nebraska, honestly, um, I'm gonna be honest as a Vols fan, I'm still mad they canceled that because that I think that would have been a good matchup. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, definitely would have been.
Hmm.
Um, you know, the Big Ten is their model right now with the non-con scheduling is, well, they don't really have one. We're just not going to schedule anybody. We're going to
Hmm.
schedule cupcakes, and then we'll play in the Big Ten, which majority of the Big Ten's not very good. I mean, I get into disagreements with folks on in certain group chats that I'm in, about this. The Big Ten has three or four good teams,
Exactly.
and that's it. So you have a 3 or 4 game cupcake schedule, and then you go and you play in your league,
Hmm.
and then you go and you march through the college football playoff. You can probably see what I'm getting at here.
Hmm.
There's no gauntlet. It's not hard. It's not the SEC. I
Hmm.
don't care that they've won the last couple of national championships. Go back further. Go back to the last 25. Who's majority doing it? The SEC. And it's not just Alabama either. Georgia's in there. Florida's in there. LSU's in there. Auburn's in there. There's a mix. What is? I mean, sorry. I could get off. I could go on and on and on. But them canceling that series was about them making their schedules easier, and they don't want competition. They don't require their teams to play a Power Four opponent. They don't require their teams to do anything. They just go ahead and they play their Youngstown states. No offense to them. They go and they play their Kennesaw states. No offense to them. Tennessee will play them next year. So my bad. Okay. They go and they play their cupcake A&Ms and their Who states and their Who A&Ms. That's what
Hmm.
they do. And until it changes, nothing will change. But that's my Big Ten tangent. I'm sorry, Eli.
You're good. And also another thing reminds me of the Big Ten, like because that was actually the last thing we were talking about on the ranking. Of course, James Franklin getting fired. I'm gonna be honest. Like that was a bad move by Penn State because like don't get me wrong, like and this happens with some teams sometimes. You end up having a good season, and every now and then you just don't end up having a bad season.
Yeah,
Like, but I just don't think firing him after a three straight game loss ends up. I don't think that's grounds for it because if you take a look, he's like he knows how to win. It's just, sometimes you just have a collapse,
yeah. They
And
got to be careful what they wish for. They're going to end up like Tennessee from 2008 to 2020.
exactly.
They got to be
Yeah,
careful.
yeah, exactly. And that's the thing about that. I don't think that was the right move. That like, and I'm still questioning that, but that's about it for me on that.
Understood. I mean, some folks don't like 10 wins a year. I mean, look,
Mhm.
do I think he was going to give them a national title? No, but I
Mm-mm.
mean, he had a lot of success. He was over there for over 10 years. I mean, he had a lot of success. People just fed up. People become stagnant and stale, and they don't want that. They want more. So, but you better be careful. If you don't get Kurt Signetti, if you don't get Matt Rule, if you don't get these guys that you're trying to get, welcome to welcome to not being relevant, and that's a possibility for Penn State.
Mhm. And all right, so I know, like, we're a bit over the time, but I will say this: there's actually a fun fact that I want y'all to share with the viewers. Of course, like about you being the one of the broadcasters for the Charlotte 49ers men's ice hockey team. First off, congratulations on that. And what can you tell us, like, what all that is really like that you do up there?
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's really a dream come true for me. It's something that I've always wanted to do. I love to talk. I love to talk about sports. I love hockey. I love football. These are things that I love, and um, I was I was led to reach out to them. I felt like I needed to reach out to them. It's something that I reached out to the team in the spring, and I asked them just out of a whim, you know, um, do you guys need a broadcaster? And the coach actually reached back out to me, the head coach. Well, he was the assistant at the time, James McCarthy, but he's the head coach now. He reached out to me and he said, as a matter of fact, we do. Um, our guy, his name is Greg. Um, Moshe Paulos is his name. Greg Moshe Paulos. He is doing not only PA announcing in the arena, he's doing the broadcast as well. We would like for him to move to PA only, and we want you to come in or somebody and do the broadcast on YouTube. Would you like to have a call with me? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And so things progressed through the summer, and we were in contact, and we were able to tie this thing up, nail this thing down. They gave me an opportunity, and I've been able to broadcast a couple of games. The team is 4-1. They're off to a great start, um, and it really it's fun. The some of the players who are not playing, whether they're scratched or injured, um, they come up in the press box and they, in a broadcast booth, they come up and they do color commentary. They broadcast with me, and it's fantastic because you get their point of view. These guys are young, but they've played since they can walk. Hockey players play the game since they could skate before they can walk. Some of these guys being international and some not. So I'm just blessed, man. I don't deserve this, but I'm glad. I'm lucky, and I really am in a great spot. Um, you have to go where this takes you. You have to go where the good Lord takes you, and this is where I am. And I I have a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I'm just still amazed that I'm able to do this. And yeah, it's the UNC Charlotte 49er Hockey Club, and you could put that in the search bar in YouTube, and you could subscribe, and you could hear me. There's a game this Saturday night. There's a game next Saturday night. Their full schedule is charlotteicehockey.com. So charlottehockeyclub.com. So it's fantastic. Uh, I'm I'm having a lot of fun.
All right, man. I'm glad to hear it. And I'll also put some links to your socials down below, of course, so you can also check it out. Like, now, I recommend checking Jayson out on X. He's uh honestly, it's the highlight of every time I go up to see on X because I love what you have to say on there, man. And I'm just glad that you were able to be here tonight. And yeah, so that's just gonna do it for the video tonight, guys. If y'all like this video, go to like, subscribe for more college football content. That being said, God bless and have a good night.
Go Vols.